Hi, everyone. I'm Barbara Joosse. I'm an author, children's author of mostly picture books, and I'm here to talk to you today about Rocky Mountain, Lulu and Rocky in Rocky Mountain National Park. And I'm so happy that the Boulder Bookstore has invited me to talk to you today. This book is the fifth of a series of books where my little friends, Lulu and Rocky, take adventures to different cities. They have gone to Milwaukee, Nashville, Indianapolis, and Detroit. But this time, my publisher, Sleeping Bear Press, wanted Lulu and Rocky to go to a national park. Well, it seemed like a genius plan. A national park, what fun. I'm not really a city person. I'm more of a outside kind of person, although not a camper. But I love being outside. I love walking. I love the sky. I love the night. I love it all. So I jumped at it. It was a great idea to go to a national park. And then I had to decide which one. So this was during COVID, and I knew I couldn't go there. I always like to visit a place that I'm writing about because that's when I find out what it's like. You can't read about someplace and just know, you have to be there. So I decided I would choose a national park that I did know. And Rocky Mountain National Park is my favorite park. My husband, Chuck, has spent most of his life in Colorado. In fact, he spent sort of a lifestyle there in an Airstream trailer, a renegade lifestyle. He lived in the trailer, mostly in Rocky Mountain National Park, and he fished for his breakfast. In the wintertime, he didn't have heat in the trailer, so he slept with his cats and his toothpaste in a sleeping bag, so his toothpaste wouldn't be frozen in the morning. So I could use Chuck to tell me things that I couldn't remember, but my own memories gave me the feeling of lightning slicing through the sky, the smell of the ponderosa pine, shooting stars, the wildflowers, the feeling that you get at the top above the tree line where you feel like you can fly. All of that I could remember, and those impressions could come through in the book. But I had to do a lot of research to find out about this book. I had to go back and forth with experts in the park and people I knew, and it was tough during COVID. I was very proud of myself in the end because I feel like I did a very good job, and I should maybe get a medal, do you think? Well, Boulder Bookstore has some questions, so I think I'll start with those. What was my inspiration for creating the characters of Lulu and Rocky? My favorite book when I was a little girl was Eloise. I loved her lively, excited, breathless way of talking. So I created Lulu like that. But my editor, Barb McNally at Sleeping Bear Press, thought that there should be a male presence in the book. So I created Rocky. And in my mind, Rocky is called Rocky because he comes from the Rocky Mountains. So I think of him as coming from Colorado. Their previous adventures have been in cities. Why did I decide to put them in a national park? Well, it was a departure, and I think a really good one. I almost wish we had done all national parks because we have such magnificent parks in our country. What kind of research did I do while writing this book? I talked to many, many people, many experts at the park, people who live there, people who have visited there. I knew one person who goes every single year to Rocky Mountain National Park, and my husband, he could tell me a lot because he'd spent so many years in the park, 5 years. How do I decide what kind of information to include in a book for children? That's really an easy one, actually, because if I'm curious about it, I think you are too. So when I hear about a squabbit, which is a squirrel rabbit, I'm curious, and you would be too. So I include that in the book. Can I read a little bit from the book? Well, I sure can. I would love to read you a little bit of Rocky Lulu and Rocky in Rocky Mountain National Park. And I should tell you that of all the books in the series, all 5, this one I feel is the very, very best. And I feel like I've captured the mood of Rocky Mountain National Park. See if you agree. There's one thing I want you to look for. Every one of these books has featured a particular way of arriving into the location, the venue. So in Detroit, they take a Model T Ford. In Indianapolis, they travel by a pace car. And in Nashville, they go on a tour bus to get to Nashville. So think about the kinds of transportation I feature in Lulu and Rocky in Rocky Mountain National Park. So here's the cover. And there's Lulu, Rocky, and Lulu's friend, Pufferson. Pufferson is my favorite character. Each of the books begins with Aunt Fancy sending them on their journey. So she's riding. You can tell she's fancy because she has purple gloves and a fancy hat. And she's drinking cappuccino, and she has jewelry all over her wrists and rings on her fingers. Then we have this fantastic map. And if you know Rocky Mountain National Park, you'll recognize a lot of those things that are on the map. And if you don't know it yet, I bet you're going to want to. Bet you're going to want to go. So first comes a letter from Aunt Fancy. Dear Rocky, are you ready for adventure? Meet Lulu, Pufferson, and your guide Henry in Estes Park, Colorado. At the Stanley Hotel, which you might know, which is possibly haunted. Head for Rocky Mountain National Park the next day. So now Rocky's packing, and he packs the good stuff: monocular, rain poncho, compass, water bottle, trail mix, and flashlight. Oops, and also clean underwear. He didn't care that much about the underwear. In fact, right now, my grandchildren are packing for a trip, and they have to carry everything in their backpack. And my daughter knows they're not going to change their clothes for the whole trip. So now they're at the Stanley Hotel. Lulu's my cousin and best friend. At the Stanley Hotel, I look around for Lulu and watch for ghosts. Ooh, is that a ghost? Boom, it's Lulu. Pufferson winks hello, and Henry shakes my hand. Well now, Rocky in the Rockies. Isn't that something? We text a picture to Aunt Fancy, our Rocky Mountain gang. So here's the Stanley Hotel. And if you look real closely, you might see the ghost. And then when they have a photo op, boop, you can see him. He just jumped right in the picture. The next day, we head for Rocky Mountain National Park. First stop, Cub Lake Trail. I smell butterscotch cookies, says Lulu. That's a ponderosa pine, says Henry. Butterscotch makes me hungry, so I chow down trail mix and spy through my monocular. What's that? I ask Henry. Henry laughs. It's an Abert's squirrel. Some people call it a squabbit because it looks like both a squirrel and a rabbit. And here they are, hiking. Pretty good. Now it's time to set up camp. After our hike, we check into Moraine Park Campground and find our campsite, our home away from home. Everyone pitches in. So they're getting ready. Campsite first, because you don't want to go back at the end of the day and then have to set up. Next up, giddy up. So look at that. There they go. Don't you want to be there? We explore the park Western style. Pufferson rides with me because he can't reach the stirrups. And then I spy it, an elk, which is towering tall, with giant fuzzy antlers that look like a crown. I take a picture for Aunt Fancy. King of the Rockies. Ooh, I love this picture. Near Moraine Park Discovery Center, we hear rumble. If you live in Colorado, you know that sound. Let's head inside for the show, Henry says. We snuggle up in rocking chairs and watch storm clouds roll over the mountains. Lightning crackles the sky. Then the rain starts fast and furious. Henry explains how junior rangers help the park. You learn about the park, explore it, and protect it, leaving the park just as you found it for everyone to enjoy. We want to be junior rangers. We pick up our junior ranger activity booklets and head for our campsite, breathing in the rain-washed air. I know if you're in Boulder, you know what that feels like, and you know what that smells like. We check off the things we've seen today on our booklets and roast hot dogs and toast s'mores over the campfire. Then we hear coyotes singing, yip, yip, howl. We sing back. This land is your land, this land is my land. And here's Henry strumming the old guitar. Everybody's around that wonderful campfire. I can smell it. Henry wakes us up before the sun. That's pretty early. We get to Glacier Creek just as the sun cracks the sky. We fish for trout and catch a rainbow. Then we take the Glacier Gorge trailhead to Alberta Falls. I yell, "Holy Falls, holy!" But no one can hear me because the water is thundering loud. Well, that's about all I can read today. So I hope you find the book at the Boulder bookstore and read it for yourself. I bet if you live or visit Colorado, a lot of that will feel familiar and you'll know why you picked a very good place to come, Rocky Mountain National Park. Thank you. Bye-bye.